The world watched closely as one of the most serious geopolitical standoffs of the decade entered music, a new phase this week, marked by major military movements, increasingly music-intense rhetoric, and urgent diplomatic signals. In recent days, the United States has reinforced its military presence music in the Middle East with one of its most significant deployments in years. The centerpiece of this movement is the arrival of the U.S. Navy's aircraft music carrier, U.S. Abraham Lincoln, accompanied by several guided missile destroyers and music warplanes. This assembled force positioned to respond to any escalation represents a tangible projection of American power toward Iranian waters, music, and regional hotspots. President Donald Trump, addressing reporters and international audiences, framed the deployment in terms music that balanced caution with resolve. "We have a big fleet going in that direction, just music. In case," he said, emphasizing the scale of the deployment while also signaling a preference to avoid direct confrontation if possible. This statement music reflects the dual track that has marked Washington's approach. A show of deterrence backed music by readiness for combat paired with repeated verbal openness to diplomacy. U.S. officials have said publicly that Washington is open for music business if Iran wishes to contact them, suggesting that the door to negotiations remains ajar, music, even as military assets move into place. Despite the diplomatic overture, American forces are not merely symbolic. Music. The Abraham Lincoln Strike Group brings with it fighter jets, advanced missile defense systems, music, and significant logistical support capability. Thousands of military personnel now bolster music U.S. presence across bases and naval positions in the region. This buildup parallels past deployments that preceded music critical phases of USOI, involvement in Middle Eastern music conflicts from Thrawn. The response has been stark and unequivocal. Iranian officials have repeatedly, music stressed, that they view any attempt at foreign military action as profoundly threatening and have warned that such action music would be met with forceful response. A senior Iranian military spokesperson, music, said that Iran would interpret an attack as an all-out war against us and that the country's defense forces were already prepared for music such scenarios. Though detailed military plans have not been disclosed, music publicly, Iran's leadership has made it clear that it would consider all available means to defend music, the nation, and its interests. In diplomatic writings published outside Iran, senior Iranian figures have underscored this posture, music, by highlighting their country's ability to respond and its unwillingness to accept what they see as undue pressure. Parallel to these geopolitical tensions, Iran continues to grapple with widespread domestic music unrest. Since late last year, what began as protest movements driven by economic hardship has grown into a broader music expression of public discontent. The demonstrations have drawn global attention, and reports suggest that significant numbers of people have been detained amid the unrest. These internal dynamics add music, a complex layer to Thrawn's foreign policy decisions. Iranian officials argue music that external threats contribute to their internal instability, bolstering their narrative that foreign powers are exploiting domestic challenges. Music. Such messaging resonates within Iran's political establishment, which emphasizes music sovereignty and national pride in the face of foreign military music pressure. The buildup of U.S. forces, including aircraft and warships redirected from other theaters, has also raised concerns among American allies. Music and regional partners. Some countries, while aligned with Washington on broader strategic music concerns, have signaled reluctance to allow their territory to become a staging ground for potential operations against music Iran. The United Arab Emirates, for instance, made clear in recent statements, music, that it would not permit attacks on Iranian targets to be launched from its land, sea, or airspace. Music. Other nations and leaders have reacted with a mix of caution and calls for calm. Music, European officials as well as representatives from international organizations have urged both United States music and Iran not to take steps that could escalate the situation further. They underscore that military confrontation could have music cascading effects far beyond the immediate theater of operations. Music. From Moscow, the Kremlin has been carefully monitoring developments. Russian government officials have publicly music urged restraint, emphasizing the importance of peaceful dialogue over military action. Prominent spokesperson Dmitry Music Paskov warned that a U.S. military strike on Iran could further destabilize the region and deepen uncertainty music across the Middle East. Such a move would represent another step music towards serious destabilization in the region, he said, adding that all sides should focus on negotiations, music, and avoid provocative actions. Russia's position highlights how this standoff is not just a bilateral matter between Tehran and Washington, music, but a global concern with broad geopolitical implications. Russia, along with other major powers, music has strategic interests in the Middle East and has historically pursued music policies that emphasize multipolar engagement rather than unilateral military action. The stakes of the situation extend music beyond mere posturing. If a larger conflict were to erupt, it could music disrupt major energy supply routes such as the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point through which a significant portion of the world's oil exports music transit. Any closure or disruption at this choke point could have dramatic consequences for global markets, music exacerbating economic volatility in regions far from the Middle East. Music in Washington, policymakers are weighing these regional dynamics against a backdrop of broader U.S. foreign policy objectives. Music. The Trump administration has reaffirmed its commitment to preventing Iran from developing or rearming nuclear music capabilities, framing that goal as central to global security. There have also been discussions within U.S. strategic circles about leveraging sanctions, music, and diplomatic pressure in tandem with military readiness to shape Iran's behavior. Music. Recent sanctions imposed on shipping linked to Iranian oil exports are part of this broader strategy to music increase pressure without immediate kinetic action. Yet even as both sides signal their readiness for confrontation, there are moments of restraint, music, and caution. Iranian officials have repeatedly stated that they do not seek war, emphasizing that diplomacy continues, music, to be preferable to conflict. At the same time, Iranian leaders have made clear music that they possess means to defend themselves and will act if they perceive red lines have been, music, crossed. These dual messages illustrate the delicate balance here Iran is attempting to maintain music between deterrence and diplomatic engagement. As the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, music, settles into its operational posture, analysis within military and academic circles, music underscores the uncertainties ahead. Some experts note that Iran's evolving military capabilities, including drone technology and missile music systems, could complicate any potential military action by external powers. Others emphasize that large-scale music conflict remains a last resort for most governments given the unpredictable consequences. Music. In diplomatic capitals around the world, leaders continue, music, discussing avenues to reduce tensions. International bodies have reiterated calls for both Washington and Tehran, music, to return to dialogue and explore conflict-averting measures. However, such discussions are often filtered, music, through a prism of mutual mistrust and decades of fraught relations. Music. Within TAN, the government's narrative emphasizes national resilience and, music, the rejection of foreign interference. Within Washington, officials stress readiness, music to defend U.S. interests and allies, while also professing openness to negotiation. These dual narratives, though, music, seemingly at odds, coexist as both capitals navigate, a situation fraught with risk and opportunity. Music public sentiment in many countries mirrors this complexity, expressing music concern over the human cost of any confrontation and anxiety about the wider geopolitical music fallout. The risks of miscalculation in such a charged environment are widely acknowledged, music, with analysts warning that a single misinterpreted move could trigger unintended escalation. As the world enters another uncertain moment, music, the Middle East, stands at the center of a geopolitical storm. Leaders on all sides are acutely aware that the choices music made now will reverberate for years to come, whether through diplomatic breakthroughs, music, or enduring shadows of conflict. In this delicate moment, the calls for restraint echo louder than ever. While military readiness remains visible and significant, the enduring hope among music diplomats, analysts, and ordinary people alike is that conversation and negotiation, not confrontation, music will define the next chapter in relations between these powerful, influential nations.